La La Land leading the pack with 11 nominations. Damien Chazelle, of course, nominated for director and original screenplay. What a wonderful movie. I loved this, although I know some people have been a little bit critical of it. Danny?
Only a fraction.
Only a fraction. And also Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone both been nominated for leading actor and actress. I mean, what did you think? It was a wonderful film, right?
Well, first of all, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone before La La Land were pretty adorable.
Yes,
You thought, could they get any more adorable? And then you see La La Land, and of course you fall in love with them, each one a little bit more.
They feel like that old school Hollywood couple.
What I like about their chemistry is that it's sort of rough-edged. It isn't honed like Rodgers and the Stair, who kind of worked on every sort of move. This is kind of blurry, and it kind of, you know, it's kind of relaxed and loosey-goosey, I would like to call it, which is what I love about the film itself. It's got that 21st century kind of nonchalance, and where they're really good is in the naturalism in between the dances. It's almost like from an indie movie, where they're kind of arguing about whether, you know, whether he should go off on tour and she should stay and do her work. And I thought that's what kind of anchors La La Land all the way through. I mean, I found it enchanting and, you know, absolutely uplifting, irresistible in a way. Although I suspect that Danny Leigh will manage to resist.
Well, I only resist fractionally, and purely because I just think it is adorable and it is enchanting, but it's very aware of it, you know. And so actually, I think. And this isn't even a criticism, because it's a movie all about the confection of movies. So it makes sense that actually the loosey-goosiness you're talking about is there. But
My
it's
new favourite phrase,
quite, I think we should use it at every opportunity. But it's quite a carefully worked loosey-goosiness. Everything is very conscious. And again, it's that kind of movie. Despite the fact that everything is quite low-key, and when they're going into a number, it just feels conversational. Like, of course, I'm going to start dancing and singing. It's all very deliberate, and it's all very, very mannered. And the movies are mannered. The movies are ridiculous things. You get a bunch of actors in front of a camera and suddenly they start singing. Of course, it's preposterous. Yes. But I'm just slightly stepping back from it and saying, you know, we are, you know, and we know how adorable you are, you know?
The thing is with La La Land is that I am not a massive fan of modern day musicals, but actually because it harks back and it looks so lavish and gorgeous, and I couldn't help but get swept away, even in the lyrics of the song. You know, they're very intelligent and can make you laugh, make you cry. They have little asides in them.
I wondered whether people actually, what we all really wanted from a musical was this huge proper artifice, capital letters, and everything is properly Fred and Ginger. And obviously they've made a very deliberate decision to not do that. And I wondered whether people would find that a little bit arch and a little bit knowing. But no, actually the trick has worked, because the thing about this movie is it has just connected with audiences, and it's connected with awards voters as well. I mean, it's one of those interesting movies. There's
a nomination, of course, for score as well from Justin Hurwitz, who kind of wrote it as well, along with Damien Chazelle as conceptually. But it takes its place in the kind of continuous line of musicals that have evolved. I mean, it's got a bit of Jacques Demy in there, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, the Demoiselles of Rochefort.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg, obviously Damien Chazelle's favourite.
Well, and you can see it there because people are talking about umbrellas and Toyota Priuses. It becomes about the humdrum. There's a little bit of realism in there. But it also, you know, it kind of kicks against what Baz Luhrmann did with Moulin Rouge or the campness of Strictly Ballroom. They were very arch and very knowing, and they were like, oh, look at me, I'm a musical. I think we've gone sort of postmodern, almost unironic, although it is very aware of itself as a musical, and every camera shot sort of introduces a song. It sort of doesn't sort of say, hey, isn't this funny, we're going to do a song. It kind of re-establishes the reason to sing in modern day life. You know, this starts on the freeway, and in the sequence that captured my heart, because it starts with people fiddling with their radios. It's about the airwaves and the crackle of song in the air. This isn't sung through. The talky bits is what I say. I really love it, but I do like the dancing as well.
With La La Land, I suppose the reason that I feel kind of grinchy and contrary about it is I wonder if it all just feels a little bit too big to fail. We all want this to be a certain kind of movie, and so it's going to hit those heights, whether it really does or not. So are we all falling in love with the movie that it wants to be? Do you know what I mean? And Damien Chazelle he's what, 7 years old? He's made his movies, he's got his career. Like, the whole of the movie industry, we need Damien Chazelle to be what Damien Chazelle appears to be shaping up to be, which is this wunderkind who then becomes this great master director. But it's almost like, I almost feel like, are we falling in love with that idea and not the actual films? Because Whiplash was great, but Whiplash was a first movie, and it was a calling card. And La La Land is great in its way, but I don't know if this is like a world-changing film, and it almost feels like people want it to be world-changing. So I'm being the Grinch.
I mean, you are a little bit, because I think dismissing Whiplash as just a calling card is slightly upsetting for lots of reasons, because it is one of my favourite films of all time. Okay. But I think you can't deny the genius of Damien Chazelle, because he knows his audience, you know, and you can tell this is another love letter to jazz through Ryan Gosling's character, who does kind of over-explain jazz a little bit in this movie. But I do understand what you mean about about, it almost looks like they're having so much fun on screen, and, you know, they've both admitted that it was just a fantastic experience. But actually, I feel like we are all swept up in their experience, and so we can all enjoy it on their level, because it is beautiful, and because, you know, they're in Hollywood, so everyone is rich, the costumes are wonderful and so expensive looking, and sometimes, you know, in a complete contrast to I, Daniel Blake, sometimes it's nice to kind of really get into that escapism.
That's right. I mean, they have such easy, instant chemistry, and the film just taps into that very expertly. I suppose it's a question of what you want a movie to do, and whether you want whether you want to leave the cinema and have that kind of warm, ready-brek glow around yourself. I mean, that's a wonderful thing for a movie to do. Or whether you want a movie which is gonna have you thinking for the next few days and weeks afterwards. Now, I don't think La La Land is that kind of movie.
But I think if you were a young actress, I think Emma Stone in her Golden Globes acceptance speech said it is about dreamers, and her favourite sequence are the bits where she's gone for auditions and she's been knocked back. Yeah. Now, the world is not full of actresses or wannabe actresses or wannabe jazz club owners, but it is full of people who want to achieve something they've set out to do. And I think that's what I love about La La Land. It does speak to that.
We have, of course, talked about that 30s look of it, so we must discuss the cinematography by Linus Sandgren.
Well, it's interesting, obviously, yeah, because they're shooting on 35, and again, it's one of those decisions that Damien Chazelle's obviously taken as part of the magic of the movies, as part of that conscious callback to the 30s and 40s and 50s and the golden age, which is actually, you know what, we have to shoot this on 35. I'm a big fan of digital. I think digital's been great for movies, but it's a beautifully shot movie, of course, and I think it's nice. It fits as a part of the theme of the movie and as part of the soul of the movie, that it fits it's on 35.
And what's extraordinary about this 35 is that it manages to do the snaking camera moves that we now associate with digital, especially on that opening sequence on the freeway, which you think is all one shot, and you think, my God, they managed this sort of 7-minute dance sequence. They didn't used to do that in the old musicals, and that's kind of the alliance, the old-fashioned and the modern.
I mean, I've had this soundtrack on repeat for months, so I've got my fingers crossed for this.
The music is very interesting because it's very deliberately turned things down, and so these aren't show tunes, these aren't jazz hands, you know. I admire it for that, actually, because I think the music is really canny. The songs, they're earworms, you know, they stay with you. So, you know, there's an awful lot I like about this movie. I just feel like I have to be the Grinch, you know?
Join us on the 12th of February to find out who the winners are.